Okay, so this is going to be a review of the neuroendocrine organs and the organs that we can find on torso man. Up in the top of the head here, we can first of all see the pituitary gland, which is sitting in the sella turcica. We can also see the pineal gland located behind the thalamus, responsible for secreting melatonin. As we work our way down into the neck, we can see the thyroid gland located here on the front of the trachea. Just behind the thyroid gland are these two small dots, which are the parathyroid glands. We get down into the thoracic body cavity, and we can first of all see the pairs of lungs. Lungs are responsible for performing gas exchange. Remember, you are responsible for the function of the organs. If we take the lungs out, we can now see more clearly. I try not to have the thing fall apart. We can see more clearly the heart, which was sitting between the two lungs. The heart is responsible for circulating the blood. If I remove the heart, we can now see the liver, this very large organ located in the upper right quadrant of the abdominal pelvic cavity. If I turn the liver over, we can see the gallbladder. The liver is responsible for detoxification and also for synthesizing bile. The gallbladder is responsible for storing bile and secreting it when required by the small intestines. We look a little further down with the liver removed, and we can now more clearly see the stomach. The stomach is connecting the esophagus down to the small intestines. I keep working my way along, and we can see the small intestines. For the most part, they're represented by this large wormy mess here. The small intestines are primarily a spot where digestion, the actual breakdown of the molecules, and absorption is going to take place. The aforementioned stomach is primarily a sterilization pit. It's responsible for getting rid of all the bacteria that you consume with your food. The small intestine ends at the large intestines, which is this gray tube that we can see going up, over, and across. The large intestines is primarily preparing your waste for fecal production, and the large intestine ends at the rectum. Now there are some other organs along the way that we sort of skipped over because they weren't directly part of the alimentary canal. One of those is the pancreas. We can see the pancreas sitting right here. It sits essentially behind the stomach. The pancreas is responsible for secreting the digestive enzymes used by the small intestine. It's also a neuroendocrine organ in that it secretes insulin and glucagon. If we remove this sheet, we can now see the kidneys located in the retroperitoneal body cavity. So here's one kidney. The other, of course, is absent on this torso, but here's one of the kidneys. Kidneys are responsible for urine production. Sitting above the kidneys are the adrenal glands. The adrenal glands secrete a number of hormones. Perhaps the most classic ones are the norepinephrine and epinephrine of the fight or flight response. A last organ that I skipped over in the body cavity is the spleen. On this particular model, the spleen is located underneath the left lung, though in some cases it's fused to the diaphragm, depending on the torso we use, and the spleen is responsible for filtering the blood. Now that leaves us with just a couple more organs to go over from a reproductive nature. If we look at the male reproductive model, we can see the bladder located right here, and the gonads or testes, which are located right here. On the female reproductive model, we can see the bladder, which is located right in this region here. We can see the ovary, the female gonad, located here, and here we can see the uterus. The uterus is responsible for storing the baby during gestation. The bladders, male and female, are responsible for storing urine, and the gonads are responsible for the production of sperm or egg, depending on which sex we're talking about.